Let's talk for 30. Where you at on your journey? Tell me what you learning. What's your line of business? How you make your earnings? Do you give back to your city or educate the ones that listen? Time to show them how to get it. Give the people what they missing. Let's talk for 30. Let's talk for 30. Let's talk for 30. Let's talk for 30. What's your line of business? How you make your earnings? Let's talk for 30. Drina.
Welcome to Talk for 30, a platform for individuals to share their journeys, their passions, and their life stories with us. Today we have De'Shawn with us. Tell everybody who you are and about your business.
Hi everyone, my name is De'Shawn Wright, born and raised here in Augusta, Georgia. My business is Kingdom Kreations Academy. We are a private school, an innovative private school dedicated to the lifelong love of learning. Our children are ages 3 to 7 years old. We have multi-age classrooms, and we are preparing children for early literacy.
Who or what inspired you to open your business?
It's divinely inspired first, but I can remember years ago watching a movie about Marva Collins, and it was Cicely Tyson and Richard Pryor, and it just went through the story of how Marva Collins started a school within her home, and there was different ages in there, and these were the students that the system said had some type of label. And so she took these students and she took an innovative approach to reaching them in different ways and just using their interests to drive their learning. So she was an inspiration, but also just having great teachers growing up. I still keep in touch with a few of my teachers. I actually did a tour yesterday, and one of my 4th grade teachers was there with her daughter and her granddaughter, so it was a full circle moment for me. But definitely having great teachers was an inspiration. And my boys, there was a point where we thought we weren't going to be parents, and so for them to be here and for my husband and I to be able to provide them with education that's tailored to them, they were definitely an inspiration for us.
What does an ideal day for your students look like?
An ideal day. So when they walk in the building, they're being greeted, they're being hugged. We want to make sure that they are okay mentally and emotionally before they walk in. So children can't learn from people that they don't like. And so we are very intentional about creating relationships with our students. We always we have an open door of communication. So we're not trying to get in our parents' business, but if there's things going on in the home or in the environment that we need to know about, just let us know. We need to handle them with care a little bit. And so they come in, they wash their hands, they're embraced by their teachers, and then we're going to start with some music and movement. So we don't want to jump right into work. We know when we wake up in the morning, sometimes we're rushed, parents are rushed to get out of the door, so they don't have time to kind of take that breather. And so before we impart any knowledge on them, we want to make sure they're loose. And so we're going to do some breathing, some meditating. We even do prayer with them in the morning. And we're not pushing any type of denomination. We just want to pay reverence to a higher power. And so you'll hear some of them say Most High, but they all, though they don't really realize it now, but they're developing a relationship with a higher power. And then we're going to get into our learning for the day. So we always have a focus, a number, a letter, some blends for the older children, some reading, but we're not requiring them to sit down for long periods of time. Right now, somehow we have all boys in our school, and so boys, they have that energy, and you have to allow them to get that out. But even when we had our girls, we're just going to allow them to move. We have students that want to lay down on the floor and do their work. Do what you need to do. We need you to be comfortable. I have one student that likes to stand up. You're not bothering anybody. Stand up. Do what you need to do to be comfortable. So throughout the day, we're just flexible. It's kind of student-led because things that they are interested in, those are things that we're bringing into the classroom. And so my boys like Hot Wheels. How can I use that? I'm finding Hot Wheels stories. I'm putting letters on the top of their Hot Wheels, and we're learning to spell our names in different words. And so this is how learning has become a natural part of their day.
You're meeting the needs of the children as a whole and individually when you're teaching that style. So I definitely agree with that. And by bringing in those things that they're interested in, it's going to make them interested in learning. And they don't even realize they're learning. Right. And I have a funny story about that. I have a niece who's 5, and she says, Auntie, she's so proper, Auntie, I can't read. And I remember I said, well, I know what I'll do. She loves animals. She loves to text. So I said, let's text. So I showed her what I like looks like. So she can memorize what I like, just those 2 words. So I kept texting her I like, so she knows when she see that, that's I like.
Wow.
So then I would use pictures. So I would send her things that she likes, a puppy, a monkey, cats, and things like that. And then I would send her I like in the picture. And then she said, I like cats, I like monkeys. And I said, are you reading to me? And she was like, yes, but she didn't realize
it. That's so awesome.
So yes, you have to be very knowledgeable of that, and I love your teaching method.
Thank you. I'm gonna have to write that down. I feel like I need some notes. Yes.
I love it. See, when I was a teacher, that's one thing I did too. I tried to reach them as a whole, but individual is very important.
Right.
And like you said, welcome them, making the environment comfortable. That's for any person.
Yes.
If you came here and when you walked in and you didn't feel welcome, you're not going to want to be here.
Right.
You wouldn't feel relaxed. But by creating that environment, you open up a great day for those students.
Yes,
how do you ensure safety for your students, staff, and yourself?
So first of all, COVID was it was a big deal for everyone, and so even though things are not as bad anymore, even though there's still some people that are getting it, we kind of maintain those practices. And so before a student can even enter the classroom, when they walk in, they're washing their hands. We're still taking their temperature, and so students with fevers aren't allowed to enter the program. We ask that parents maintain and model those things at home. We're washing our hands throughout the day through transitions. But also not just the hygiene safety, but also a child feeling safety in their classroom. We don't allow bullying. We're always reinforcing. Our rules are nice hands, listening ears, focused eyes, and walking feet. And so we're positively framing everything, but just making sure that they also have a voice so they can articulate when something's going wrong with them. And parents, that's an important thing for them too, because your child is away. Their waking hours are mostly at school. They spend most of their waking hours at school than they do at home. And so it's important that when they're away from you, they can articulate their day. And so part of them being healthy is us giving them the language for how they feel. So we talk about moods and being frustrated, and everything's not just angry, because some children, if I'm mad, I'm angry. Well, right now you hungry and sleepy, and that can manifest as anger. And so, that's a way that we ensure safety. Also, just keeping up with our fire marshal codes and things like that allow us to maintain our license. We make sure that we're on top of those. That's of utmost importance. And then we have extra things like air purifiers in the classroom, so we're making sure the air is staying clean. But just little extra things like that to give parents that extra security when they're leaving their children.
That's very important. And you obtain the right training.
Amen. First aid, a CPR, yes.
For your mission statement of your business, how do you instill that in your staff?
So we're not Christian on paper, but in essence, we all have a relationship with God. And I'm saying that because before a child even walks in the building, we're making sure we're praying and we're ushering the Spirit in, because we're serving Him. So our mission in the interview is not just an interview. They actually have to come in and teach a class, and that's part of the process. And so during that time, we're seeing relatability. Are they getting on the child's level? Are they maintaining eye contact? What are some things and ideas and philosophies that they're coming in with? And that gives us an idea to kind of see this holistic approach, because I'm there and I'm monitoring, but I'm not inserting myself. So if a child gets distracted, how are they redirecting them? How are they developing that relationship even then? And so with the two teachers I have, both of them during that time, were learning names during the interview. That's very personal, because you may or may not see this child again. And so things like that are what I look at, what's already in you, because I think you can't teach someone how to teach. It kind of has to be in them. Even going to school for it, there are some things that I went the non-traditional route. I got a bachelor's in biology. I thought I was going to medical school. I got a master's in public administration. And so I went the non-traditional route through Georgia Teaching Fellows and went through a fast track program, and they kind of just threw me in a summer school. And so a lot of times what you see in the book, it does not manifest itself in real life. And so the experiences are what brings it out of you. It has to be in you. And so just training helps. We have our little powwows in the morning where I set the intention, but it's just also buy-in. You have to buy into the mission and vision before we can move forward.
What about reflection? Do you reflect with your students before they go home?
Yes, we do. So at the end of the day, we'll do a wrap up. What did we learn for that day? But also we do affirmations throughout the day. And so you can ask either one of them, 3, 4-year-old, who are you? I'm an African king. I was created to do this. So they know even at this age, and that came from just, we have a village. And so my grandparents that are retired, they come in and they volunteer. And so when I said that some of them will tell you that they're African king, one of our grandparents is a retired educator, but he was also a wrestling teacher. So he comes in once a week and he teaches chess. So we have 4, 5, 6-year-olds that know how to play chess. But while he's doing that, because he spends half of the year in Ghana and half of the year here, he's reinforcing those African principles and letting them know, like, there is no motherless and fatherless children, because if you don't have a mother or a father, the village adopts you. And so they're learning those principles even then. We don't allow the word can't, so we'll reinforce. If we hear someone say can't, well, not right now. You can't do it yet, but practice makes permanent. And we make sure we don't reinforce that practice makes perfect, because you can be doing it wrong and practicing it wrong, and of course that won't make perfect. So anything that you're consistent at, you can achieve it.
Yes, I agree. I also believe in positive reinforcement too, because when you speak negative, they're going to remember the negative. So like you said, when I heard you say walking feet, things like that, instead of saying stop running, we use our walking feet, because you want them to remember what they're supposed to be doing. So I agree with that. I love it. You're doing an awesome job.
Thank you.
I love your whole approach.
Thank you.
What you're telling me. What makes your school different from other schools?
I think right now it's definitely the relationship piece. Not that teachers don't want to, and I know I hear people say a lot right now that they are bad teachers. I've never met a bad teacher, but I will say that there are a lot of demands on teachers right now in public school where they're doing things that we didn't necessarily do when we were a little bit younger. And so, and the class sizes are a little bit bigger, so they don't have the opportunity to be as hands-on, even though there are still some that are fighting and they're developing those relationships with the children, and they see them outside of school. So definitely the relationships. We're developing relationships with our students, but because we are a private school, how we get our curriculum, as long as they're arriving at the standard, we can get there any way we need to. And so it allows us to be personal with the child. It allows us to use their God-given interest to drive their instruction. It also allows us to bring in parents a whole lot more. If you want to be a part of your child's learning, we're connected to our resources, Brightwheel. And so throughout the day, they're getting snapshots of their child's learning through videos and pictures. So even though you're not there, you get to be a part of the experience. And then also, anytime the doors are open, our parents are welcome. It is our desire to create this kind of holistic approach. So let's say we have a child that has a challenging behavior. It's not looked at as, it's what is it trying to tell us, because every behavior is a communication. So it can just be, I didn't get enough sleep last night, or, we have picky eaters right now. And so we know if they're not getting enough of those leafy green vegetables, then it might be a vitamin deficiency or something. So we're taking this holistic approach where we're not worried about a label on the child, because every child is different, and we're allowing them to bloom in their own season. And so we respect milestones, we respect standards, standards, but we recognize that the way that this child learns and the way that this child learns is totally different. We also respect that we have multidisciplinary learners. So I may need to put my hands on something because I'm a kinesthetic learner, but I also might need to see it. And so we provide multiple ways for them to reach a standard, and we're always assessing. But that doesn't mean pen and paper tests. That can mean you're orally telling me how you're learning, or you put a puzzle together, you're building something. So we are exposing them to a lot more right now. You wouldn't typically have meditation or yoga in public school, or not a whole lot of private schools.
Right.
So we're just trying to take that holistic approach where we're creating children that don't have to be healed from anything because their environment is just safe and welcoming. And we know the challenges will come, but with parents and relationship with the higher power, there's nothing that we can't overcome.
Yes, I agree. And when you spoke of educators, I do feel, like you said, you don't believe in a bad teacher. I do believe in some educators, they have the training as far as it goes with the books, the degree. But like you said, the hands-on, it's a big difference, From what you learn on paper and you get put in a classroom, you might have to flip that 360 degrees to meet that child's needs.
Yes.
So you just have to be flexible. You go to a technical school, depending on what the trade is, most of that 2 years that you were there, you were working
with your
something in your
hands,
field.
right?
But college, you're just doing the books. So I really wish colleges would put more technical, more hands-on
in
instruction
the
degrees
curriculum,
as well.
definitely.
Because it's kind of like throwing somebody to the wolves.
It is, because you're
sense.
missing the application part of it, which is really important.
What requirements do you have put in place for your staff when recruiting?
So they have to have a bachelor's degree or higher for teachers. 2 years or more of experience working with children. Also, the first aid and CPR requirements. And if they don't have those, then of course a Nerd for Life is your place. Also, we have to go through, so the state requires us to have 10 annual training hours. So my requirement is 20 or more. And those are areas where I'm going to give you a few subjects that I want you to reinforce, but also I want you to self-identify what your need is. So if you know you need a little bit more instruction in lesson planning or behavior intervention, classroom management, then you're self-identifying those areas, and then I am doing the legwork to bring those resources into you.
That's what you call a leader.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you're not making it for everybody to do the same thing. Just like a teacher meets the needs of her students, you're meeting the needs of your staff.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're still doing the same thing.
That was one thing that I did not like about professional development, is that we have to have this individualistic approach for children, but not every teacher needs this particular skill.
Right.
And so I felt like, it would have been more effective. And I think they're doing more of this now, where you let the teacher self-identify where they need more help, and then kind of just group those teachers together so that they can help each other.
And that helps them grow too. It helps them grow. What characteristics do you think a teacher should possess?
Definitely have a passion for the curriculum, the discipline. And I can't put this on a job description, but just having a connection is very important. And that's self-identified just through interaction with you. When they say discern in the spirit, seek God first, is not just, it's in your relationships as well. And so can you recognize God in someone else? Also, just, is this something they feel like they've been called to do, or is this just seasonal for you? Have you been called to do this? Because then I know that you're going to get in here and you're going to hit the ground running, and those relationships, they're just going to come because you're recognizing that, okay, I need to get to know my students first, and that's going to help me drive instruction. So those are some of the most important qualities.
And I think students feed off you too. They know your emotion, genuine. They know. And when they know someone care about them and love them, they're going to want to do more.
Yes, they're very much still people pleasers, and if they know that you have their best interest at heart, yes, they're going to want to show up for not just for you, but for themselves. I love seeing them have those aha moments. I had a student to come to me the other day and say, Ms. Wright, I couldn't put this puzzle together, and I finally got it together. And so just seeing them figure things out on their own through that exploration, that's why the hands-on, like you said, is so important, because they learn how to problem solve. I still have puzzles in my class, even for 6 and 7-year-olds, because you still have to learn how, this is helping you problem solve. It's helping you persevere. So you're learning those life skills even now.
I think that's very important too, problem solving and critical thinking.
Yes.
You ask questions to where they just say yes
or no.
You need to ask open-ended questions so they're able to think. You want them to be critical thinkers. And I think that's why reflection is good.
Yes.
Because you get to say, well, what did you do today? Do you remember what we talked about? And they really have to think about it. Because if you ask a question like, what did you do today? When they get in the car, the first thing they're probably going to say is their most favorite thing.
Yes.
We ate lunch.
And we went outside. We played. Yes.
So you have to make sure you dig a little bit deeper, because that's not all they're doing at school.
I promise you.
How do you market your business?
Oh my gosh, we have been so blessed in that area, because the only thing that I have ever done is post videos and pictures with my parents' permission on social media. And so everything that we have done has been through someone viewing our page or word of mouth. And that's all we have done.
Okay. Do you feel your current marketing strategy is effective for you?
I do, but I recognize that as times change, you have to be able to keep up with the times as well. So we're not going to be totally dependent on social media, but I love that parents are driving our enrollment, because they're sharing their experiences with other parents. And so if that's resonating with you, then they're seeking us out. And so I know that means that you've seen something that you value in us that you also value at home.
Okay. What are some of the biggest challenges you face?
Funding. Funding, but it's a big challenge, but it's not, because it's an opportunity for us to exercise our faith. God, I know that you brought me here. I know that this is purpose, and so I have to stand on your word that you have plans for me to be successful. And so, it's just the opportunities for you to be patient, which is, it takes some learning, and watch God do what he do.
And watch him do it. I'm telling you, I'm a testimony with that. What do you enjoy doing the most with your children?
The most? Being a child myself. I am the oldest of 5 children, and so I feel like at some point I felt like mother to them. And not that I didn't have a childhood. I had a wonderful childhood, but I find myself now, and maybe it's because I'm around kids all day and around my own, but just being silly with them, and even when they get upset, just kind of doing something silly and distracting them. I think that is one of the most fun things to do. It's just to relate and get on their level and let them know that even though I'm an adult, I'm relatable. I can still relate to you. And I can be a child at heart, and then I can also, I'm gonna put on my mom hat and my teacher hat when I need to.
You heard. What are your thoughts on popularity on social media? Do you think if you're popular, it helps your business?
Listen, I just did a little video and posted it on that question. Oh my gosh. So I do not subscribe to the idea of popularity. I subscribe to purpose. And so when you are called according to your purpose, you can strike popularity with God, which will give you popularity with everybody. And so I don't think it's about being popular. I think it's just about having a service or a business that people need, and for them seeing the value in your business. And I don't worry about those that aren't supporting me. I'm gonna feed what you feed grows, and so I am giving gratitude to those that are supporting me. And to be honest with you, I don't even think about the opposite, because I know the power of intent. I know the power of your words, and so I just don't give that any energy.
Okay. No energy. What's meant for you is going to be for you.
Yes.
There's room for everyone to succeed.
Everyone.
And there's no need to worry about what someone else is getting. I mean, social media, in my eyes, is a great platform for marketing because it allows you to reach individuals that are not in your area for whatever reason. So how do you handle negative feedback?
By not internalizing it and seeing every word as an opportunity to grow, I encourage constructive criticism. And so we're always asking our parents, how can we make your experience better? What can we do to improve? Even if someone says something that doesn't necessarily settle with me, I don't take it personal, because I also recognize that, you know, where somebody is in life and where I am is two different places. And sometimes in delivery, because sometimes there's a barrier with communication, things can be received in a certain way that wasn't necessarily the intent. And so I just don't internalize it. I'll do prayer throughout the day to make sure I stay in a good headspace, because I have to show up for not just my children, but all the children that are trusted in my care.
Do you think strangers support you more than family and friends?
I haven't done the analysis on that, but I don't think so. I don't know if there's equality or anything, but I think just like the last question, if people see value in your services, they may not necessarily need them, but they'll be more eager to share your information or talk about you to someone else. You know, I don't have any children, but you know, if my friends have children, oh, I saw this school on Facebook, why don't you go follow them and check them out? And so, you know.
Yeah. I agree too, and it may be, it's not that family may not be supporting you, like you said, it may not just need your services, so it just depends on the situation. But is your family supportive? Because it doesn't always have to be physical, it can be by communication, mentally, just by telling you need anything, you good, and like you said, your grandparents volunteering.
Yes. And my mother-in-law is a teacher. My mom works a full-time job, but then comes and helps clean up and make sure everything's sanitized and clean. My husband is there when he's not working. So it's a village. We definitely have support. My sister-in-law has her own business, so she's always referring. My sister has her own business, and so everyone's working together.
You have to get them on the show.
Yes,
all right,
yes.
Sister. You stated that you always known you had a purpose since you were a childhood. Why do you think you ignored it for so long?
I think because that's not what I was groomed to do. For some reason, my mom had it in her head that I was going to be a doctor. And I don't think I've ever sat down, so I need to have this conversation with Mama, like, Mama, what did you see? And so maybe she just saw me in a place where I was just interacting with children, because it was always a pediatrician. So maybe that's what she saw. Maybe I still got to get the PhD and it's just going to be a doctor of education. But for some reason, it just stuck strong with me that I'm going to be a doctor. And so my grades were not as competitive when I finished my undergrad, and I didn't get accepted into medical school. But I decided, okay, I'm going to try another route. And I became a certified phlebotomist, and after working in the hospital for a little bit, I realized it wasn't even for me. It takes a special type of person to be around people and be able to uplift them when they're not feeling their best. That just was not. And so I appreciate that experience, but everything always comes full circle. I think had I went straight to education, I may not have the passion that I have now, because it took having 4 miscarriages and being in the wrong place in order to appreciate where I am now.
Yeah, everything happens for a reason. Every journey or path that you took had a purpose.
Yes.
For it. It all had you prepared for this.
For this.
What is your biggest fear?
Whew, you just, ooh. My biggest fear, not living up to who God has created me to be. I think for a while it took me, this what we're doing right now is growth, because if you ask anybody that I grew up with, I was always very reserved and quiet, wasn't really comfortable in my skin. I've always been always been tall. So it took a while for me to even feel comfortable and confident in standing up straight, because I can show you some pictures when I was in elementary school where I kind of tried to shrink myself a little bit. And so that has meaning for me even as an adult, because I feel God trying to stretch me into this, and I'm like, okay, ease me into it a little bit. But it's just interesting how this interface I'm having with so many people, and I'm not even thinking the nerves and anxiety are gone. I might get nervous in a little bit, but I'm like, okay, God, okay, decrease me and increase you so I can show up the way that you have created me, because you said that you knew me before I even took this assignment on earth. And so I want to know what you know about me.
That's right. That's right. You're in the right timing, His timing.
Amen.
Not your time.
Not at all.
Not your time. And like you said, you didn't expect to be doing this because you didn't know it was written out for you to do it.
Exactly.
Just like I didn't know, you know. I see that you are big on faith. Fear. Let's talk about that. When you first started your business, were you fearful?
Yeah, I'm still fearful.
You're still fearful.
Yeah.
What do you fear?
Failure. Failure. I am saying that I can educate children not in a way that's better, but just different. And so that requires me to be constantly researching and reading and, you know, training myself, but also making time so that I have self-care, because I can't pour from an empty cup. And so, because I fear failure, that is my motivation to keep going. Even when I'm tired, I gotta push through. But I also have to make sure I'm taking that time for myself, and eating right and exercising. This morning was my stamp to myself that I'm gonna start exercising again. I saw an article that said that children are only as active as their mother. It didn't even mention the father. It said they're only as active as their mother. And so, not that it was any slight to the father, but it just it recognized the connection that a mom and her child has. Is even though they're not physically attached to the womb, spiritually they're still attached to the womb. And so I need to get more active because I want my boys to be active. We try to reserve the amount of time they're on technology, because I feel like more of their creativeness shines through when they are bored. Like right now, I know parents are going through it because the kids saying, I'm bored, we're out for the summer. It's okay to be bored. That's how they learn how to self-explore. That's how they get to know themselves. And, you know, we need to get back in nature a little bit more. So
speaking of self-love, do you feel that you have been successful? Are you proud of yourself?
I am. I think that I do not sit in it enough because, and I'm sure you have some level of this too, you're always looking for, okay, I've done this, now what's next? Yeah. And so I think sometimes it's seen as being proud if you congratulate yourself, but it's just you recognizing that you're not doing this alone. So if I'm congratulating myself, I'm also saying thank you, God, because I know I have not gotten this far by myself.
I'm going to reflect on that.
Okay.
Today, I don't recall, I'm not going to say I've never done it before, but today I had a moment and I told my husband, I said, I'm actually proud of myself. And I don't think I said that before.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's amazing that this is one of your questions.
Yes.
But yeah, so today I did acknowledge that. And I think it's a great thing to have reflection because it allows you, just like the children, to recap everything. So when I reflect, I look at, okay, I did this. I always make myself a checklist. I've done this, I've done it. Okay, so now that I've done this, am I satisfied?
What's next?
If not, what should I change? Yes. And then what's next? It is so important for me to have goals and to plan. How do you feel about that?
I feel the same. And talking about congratulating yourself, the month of March was really big for me because I received my first award, the Commitment to Community, the Women of Wonder Award. Wow. And so it was actually, I thought I was showing up to speak on behalf of someone that was a mentor to me as a child, but it turns out they were recognizing me, and it was her daughter actually. So that did something for me because that was the first time, you know, I'm coming up on 10 years of being educated, and this was the first time I was was recognized for teaching in the community. And then right after that, a couple of weeks after, WRDW's Give It Forward Award, we received that through Miss Candy Smith. And so March was just very rewarding. I'm sorry, May. I said March, it was May. But it came after I had a month of anxiety, and I'm just gonna be honest. Sometimes when you're not doing what you're supposed to do, and when I say that, I mean I'm making sure everybody else is okay, but am I eating right? Am I exercising? And so if someone says something that always plays in my head, every parent would die for their children, how many would live for them? And so it made me think about, you know, even during this day, I'm 39, there are people my age and people I grew up with that are not well, and even younger. And so just making sure that we're breaking some of those, I don't want to call it generational curses because we didn't counsel those already, but just some of those lifestyle choices that we inherited. We're not necessarily inheriting the disease or the disorder, we're inheriting those lifestyle changes. And so just making that stand where, okay, it's not going to happen overnight, and I'm not going to get rid of all of this, but just moderation is key.
How do you manage being a wife and a CEO? And a mother?
It's something that happens minute by minute. I think, you know, the word balance comes up when you're talking about being an entrepreneur, but I really believe that we don't ever really find balance. We just have to find a flow, because sometimes mom and teacher overlap, sometimes wife and mom overlaps, and so I have to make sure that in all the overlapping that I'm also giving just De'Shawn some time. But it's just in finding, setting a schedule helps. When I get home, if there's something I have to do, I'm going to save it for when the boys go down. Okay. And I want to make sure, so what we've been doing lately, since the sun is out now, we outside. So my husband and I and my boys will take a walk around the neighborhood. And that's kind of our bonding time of how the day went. And then my boys' grandparents, my mother-in-law and father-in-law and my mom are always available to get the boys when mommy and daddy just need some dates. So dating is very important in marriage, especially when you have children. And then just finding that time to decompress from work. There's times where I just have to say, okay, I'm not answering these, you know.
I'm going to ask you about that one because I was waiting on you to finish.
You have to cut it off at some point. Right, I need another me. And so I'm recruiting right now for, you know, all types of things. And in that's what I was just telling you about trust, because I'm like, okay, Lord, where the money gonna come from? And as soon as I said that, he said, it ain't your business. So I am just doing what the Spirit is saying, and then allowing the hard work to be up to him. I heard something else. I listened to Ambassador Cindy Trim a lot, and she said something about the ideas belong to those that are tuned in to the frequency. And so this is why you see a lot more of this innovative and ingenuity going on, because, you know, we're tuned in. So you might be recreating something that someone else is doing, but even with the same recipe, they say the sauce ain't gonna taste the same. So you're gonna put your own little spin on it, and it's gonna be what it's gonna be. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And speaking of that, I would have to say that is something that I'm working on too. It's not one of your questions, but I do like to talk about building a team. That is a hard one for me, because I'm so used to doing everything myself because of trust.
Yes.
And it sounds like you're in the same situation because you're thinking about building a team. But I do think that's very essential to move up.
It is.
Very.
Because you can't do everything. You'll burn out and you'll lose the passion. And so I think when it comes to trust, especially with kids, because these are all my babies. And so I can't just put anyone in here, but also at the same time, sometimes our mind likes to go to the negative instead of thinking, what happens if everything goes wrong? Like, what happens if everything goes right? And so I have to operate in that space more because I'm putting that energy out.
Okay. You hear it. This is where your kids should be. If someone wrote a book on your life right now, what would be the title?
Ooh.
And why?
Getting it right. Probably with the play on the words, W-R-I-G-H-T, getting it right. Because that's an everyday journey. You're always learning, you're always growing. Being an entrepreneur takes a certain amount of risk. And you just kind of have to be comfortable in being who you are and not shrinking to fit someone else's definition for you, whether it be family or friends. And you need people around you that allow you to grow in a way that's comfortable, so they're not pulling you or pushing you. It's good that they're motivating you, but you don't want anyone to try to box you in, because that's not who God is. He doesn't put limitations on us. The only ones we have are what we're putting on ourselves. And so I think every day I'm learning something, and I'm only in competition with who I was yesterday. And so I'm trying to be the best, as everybody's saying, their higher self, the best version of myself. What does that look like? And sometimes I'll say, well, am I showing up like her today? And I know if I hadn't gotten enough sleep, or, so I don't really take anything personal. I always bring it like, what can I do? And that's that.
All right, we're going to have a little fun. We're going to relax it a little bit. We're going to play a little game called This or That.
Okay.
All right? Cook or someone cook for you?
This.
So you would cook?
I would right now, because I'm learning more recipes, and that's been like a love language for me. So like my sons, when their food is good, I get like this right here. So I want to see like more of this right here. So I've been trying different things. So right now, yes, but it's a season for that. Somebody else do it. Yes.
Steak or chicken?
Chicken.
Chicken, okay. Salad or sub?
Salad.
Shopping online or shopping in a store?
Online.
Okay. Success or happiness?
Both things can be true at one time. I would say happiness, but more on the lines of joy, because happiness is related to what's happening, and joy is just finding the good and everything. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Pray morning and night or throughout the day?
Throughout the day. There's no other way. There's no other way.
Calls or texts?
Seasons, but we'll say text because I can get more done.
Okay. $100,000 in cash or $100,000 in credit?
I'm gonna say $100,000 in credit, because that means I got some good credit. Yes, yes.
And you can do a lot with that.
Yes.
The cash is
Right, yes.
What is the best compliment that you've ever received, and how did it make you feel?
I'm gonna say just recently, just yesterday, I mentioned that my fourth grade teacher came with her daughter and her son-in-law and her granddaughter. And this is the most recent compliment I received, is that she just said that I'm so proud of you and all that you're doing. And so this came from someone that saw me from fourth grade up until where I am now. And she knows the reserved, quiet person that I was, and she's kind of been along on this journey. But this is someone that exposed us to so much. And what's funny is she was also my mentor once I became a teacher. We were at the same school, so it was full circle moments all the way around. And for her to stand in front of me and say, I'm so proud of what you've built, and for her to see my children and meet my husband, that was a great experience.
Okay. Now you talk about your husband. How long have you been married?
This year will be 10 years.
You guys like date night in or out?
I think it's a season for both. Right now, we're wanting to get out more, and I think that's because our boys are getting older. Not that we definitely have full trust when they're away from us, and we know that they're safe. But I think there's a certain amount of security that comes from them getting older. So right now, mommy and daddy want to be outside.
Outside?
Traveling.
They want to be outside?
Yes.
What is the difference between loving someone and being in love with someone?
Being in love, I think, is conditional, because you can do something and I'm not in love with you anymore. Loving someone is saying that whether you're having a good day or a bad day, I'm going to find the good in you, and I'm going to keep showing up for you, not to the point of my detriment, but to the point of you being willing to reciprocate.
Yes, yes. And I feel love is an action. It's not
Definitely.
a word, it's an action.
It's definitely.
All right. Well, guys, I want to thank you for supporting me. Here's your shirt. And even the bag.
Look at the bag. That's so cool.
And here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for
Thank
supporting
you. Yes, ma'am.
Please share how everyone can find you on social media and your school location.
Okay, we are located in Martinez, 218 Baston Road. We're off of Riverwatch Parkway, and you can find us every day on Facebook, Kingdom Kreations 224. We're posting and uploading every day. We're sharing information about our school and also just information about how to develop and reinforce and sustain the holistic child.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Again, thank you, De'Shawn,
Thank you for
and giving
having
this
me.
opportunity to sit with you. It's definitely been a pleasure. I learned so much, and I love everything about what you're doing. And let me be the first to say, as I said when I met you, I am so proud of you. I will forever root and support you. Okay?
Likewise.
I also want to thank my team for helping me make all of this come true today. Thank you, Lisa, Kayla, Reggie, my husband, Victoria, and Kendra. If you guys have a conversation that you want to talk about, you want to share your stories, call me. Let's talk for 30, okay? All right, thank you.
What's your line of business? How you make your earnings? Let's talk for 30. Drina. Let's talk for 30. Where you at on your journey? Tell me what you learning. What's your line of business? How you make your earnings? Do you give back to your city or educate the ones that listen? Time to show them how to get it. Give the people what they missing. Let's talk for 30. 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 Talk for 30. Let's talk for 30. Drina.